The stars outside the window looked cold. They always looked cold to Park Suho. He stood near the thick glass of orbital base Kiran and watched the endless darkness of space. His breath made small clouds in the air. The base was always cold, too cold for a human like him. Suho was the only human on this station. He had been here for 3 months now. The Galactic Union had sent him as part of an exchange program. They wanted humans and aliens to learn about each other. They wanted friendship between species. Suho thought it was a good idea when he first heard about it. Now, he was not so sure. The base was home to the Velari. They were large creatures, covered in thick fur. Their fur was white and gray, like snow on mountains. They stood almost 8 feet tall, and their bodies were wide and strong. Their faces looked something like bears from Earth, but their eyes were soft and kind. They had 4 arms instead of 2, and they used all of them when they worked or when they hugged each other. The Velari loved to hug. They hugged when they said hello. They hugged when they said goodbye. They hugged when they were happy, or sad, or just because they felt like it. Suho had received more hugs in 3 months than he had received in his entire life back on Earth. But the hardest thing about living with the Velari was not the hugging, it was the sleeping. The Velari did not sleep alone. They slept together in large groups. They had a big room called the sleep hall, where everyone went at night. They would pile together on soft cushions and blankets, their furry bodies pressed close. They said it was the proper way to sleep. They said sleeping alone was dangerous and sad. Suho did not agree. He was a private person. He liked his own space. He liked his own bed. He liked to sleep without someone's elbow in his face or someone's tail across his legs. So every night, he said no to the sleep hall. Every night, he went to his small room in the human quarters and slept by himself. Tonight was no different. Suho walked away from the window and moved down the long hallway. The floors were made of metal, and his boots made soft sounds as he walked. The lights above him gave off a pale blue glow. Everything on the base had that same blue color. The Velari liked blue. They said it reminded them of their home planet's sky. He passed by the common area, where some Velari were sitting and talking. They looked up when they saw him. "Suho," called out a deep voice. Her fur was darker than the others, almost silver. And she wore a badge on her chest that showed her rank. "Come sit with us. We are sharing stories about our cubs when they were young." Suho smiled politely. "Thank you, Commander, but I am tired. I think I will go to my room now." The Velari around the commander made sounds of disappointment. One of them, a male named Duri, shook his large head. "You always go to your room alone," Duri said. "This is not good for you, Suho. You need company. You need warmth. I have relief. I have I have I have I have I have blankets," Suho said. "I will be fine." The Velari exchanged looks with each other. Suho had seen those looks before. They were worried looks. The Velari worried about him a lot. They thought he was strange for wanting to be alone. They thought something was wrong with him. Commander Hana stood up. She was very tall, and Suho had to look up to see her face. She placed one of her large hands on his shoulder. Her hand was warm, even through his uniform. "Suho," she said gently, "the temperature will drop tonight. The heating system is being repaired. It will be very cold. Please, come to the sleep hall with us. We will keep you warm." Suho felt the cold already biting at his skin, but he shook his head. "I appreciate the offer, Commander, but I prefer to sleep in my own room. I have extra blankets. I will be okay." Commander Hana looked at him for a long moment. Her golden eyes were full of concern, but she did not push him. The Velari were kind that way. They offered, but they did not force. "Very well," she said, "but if you change your mind, the sleep hall doors are always open for you." "Thank you," Suho said. He gave a small bow and continued walking toward his room. The human quarters were at the end of a long corridor. The Galactic Union had built this section just for him. It was smaller than the rest of the base, with lower ceilings and narrower halls. It was supposed to feel more like home, but it did not feel like home. It felt empty. Suho reached his door and pressed his hand against the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. He stepped inside and the door closed behind him. His room was simple. There was a bed against one wall, a desk against another, and a small bathroom in the corner. A window showed the stars outside. Everything was gray and metal and cold. Suho walked to his bed and sat down. He could feel the chill in the air already. Commander Hana was right. The temperature was dropping. He pulled his blanket around his shoulders, but it did not help much. The blanket was thin. It was made for normal temperatures, not for nights when the heating system was broken. He thought about the sleep hall. He thought about all those warm, furry bodies piled together. He thought about how nice it would be to feel that warmth right now. But no. He shook his head. He was a human. Humans slept alone. That was normal. That was proper. He did not need anyone else. Suho lay down on his bed and pulled the blanket up to his chin. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep. But the cold kept him awake. It crept through the blanket and into his bones. His teeth started to shake. His body started to tremble. Outside his door, he heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps. The sound of Valari walking to the sleep hall. He heard their voices, soft and happy. He heard them laughing about something. Then the sounds faded away, and everything was quiet. Suho was alone. He curled into a ball, trying to keep warm. He tucked his hands under his arms and pulled his knees to his chest. But it was not enough. The cold was everywhere. It was in the air, in the walls, in the floor beneath him. This was going to be a long night. Suho closed his eyes and tried to think of warm things. He thought of summer days on Earth. He thought of hot coffee and warm fires. He thought of his mother's kitchen, where the stove was always burning and the air smelled like food. But the memories could not warm him. Only heat could do that. And there was no heat in this room. Suho shivered and waited for morning. Tammy was young. She was only 6 years old in Valari years, which made her still a cub. She was small, compared to the adults. Standing only 5 feet tall, her fur was soft and fluffy, colored white like fresh snow. Her eyes were big and round and full of wonder at everything around her. Tammy lived on the base with her mother, Yuna. Yuna was one of the engineers who kept the station running. She fixed machines and checked systems and made sure everything worked the way it should. Tammy was proud of her mother. She wanted to be an engineer too when she grew up. But right now, Tommy was not thinking about engineering. She was thinking about the human. The human was strange. Tammy had never seen anything like him before he arrived at the base. He had no fur. His skin was smooth and bare, colored like sand. He was small and thin, much smaller than any Valari. He walked on 2 legs like they did, but he only had 2 arms. Tammy thought that must be very difficult. How did he carry things? How did he work? How did he hug properly with only 2 arms? The human's name was Suho. Tommy liked to say his name, Suho. It was a nice name. It sounded soft and gentle, just like him. Tommy had been watching Suho since the day he arrived. She watched him work in the science lab. She watched him eat in the meal hall. She watched him walk through the corridors with his small steps and his thin body. She found him very interesting, but she also found him very sad. Suho was always cold. Tommy could see it. She could see the way he rubbed his arms when he walked. She could see the way his body shook sometimes, just a little bit. She could see the clouds of breath that came from his mouth when he talked. Humans did that when they were cold. Tammy had learned this from her datapad. The Valari did not feel cold very often. Their thick fur kept them warm in almost any temperature. The base was comfortable for them, but it was not comfortable for Suho. Tommy could tell. One day, Tammy asked her mother about it. "Mother," she said, "why is the human always cold?" Yuna looked up from her work. She was fixing a small machine, her 4 hands moving quickly over the parts. She smiled at her daughter. "Humans are different from us, little one," Yuna explained. They do not have fur. Their bodies do not make heat the same way ours do. They need warmth from outside. From clothes, from fire, from other bodies. Tommy thought about this. But Suho does not take warmth from other bodies. He sleeps alone in his room. He never comes to the sleep hall. Yuna's smile became a little sad. Yes, I know. Humans have different ways. They like to be alone sometimes. It is their culture. But that is wrong, Tommy said. Her little face was serious. No one should be alone, especially not when it is cold. He will freeze, Yuna laughed softly. He will not freeze, little one. He has blankets and clothes. He will be fine. But Tommy was not sure. She thought about Suho all day. She thought about him sitting alone in his small room. She thought about him shivering under his thin blanket. It made her heart hurt. That evening, Tommy sat in the meal hall and watched Suho eat his dinner. He was at a table by himself, as usual. He had a bowl of something warm in front of him. Steam rose from the bowl, and he held his hands over it, trying to catch the heat. Tammy wanted to go sit with him, but she was shy. What if he did not want her there? What if he thought she was annoying? Cubs could be annoying sometimes. The adults said so, but then Suho looked up. His eyes met hers across the room, and he smiled. It was a small smile, just a little curve of his lips, but it was warm and kind. Tammy felt her heart jump in her chest. She grabbed her food and walked over to his table. Her feet moved before she could think about it. She stood in front of him, holding her tray, suddenly feeling nervous. "Can I sit here?" she asked. Her voice came out quiet and squeaky. Suho's smile grew bigger. "Of course you can," he said. "Please, sit down." Tammy sat across from him. She was so happy that she almost knocked over her drink. She caught it with her second pair of hands just in time. "I am Tommy," she said. "I know," Suho said. "I have seen you around the base. You are Yuna's daughter, right?" Tammy nodded quickly. "Yes. My mother is the best engineer on the station. She can fix anything." "Tammy." "I believe it," Suho said. "She fixed my communication device last week. It works perfectly now." They ate together in comfortable silence for a while. Tommy watched Suho carefully. She noticed that he ate slowly, and he kept rubbing his hands together between bites. He was cold again. "Are you cold?" Tammy asked. Suho looked surprised by the question. "A little bit," he admitted. "It is always a little cold for me here. But I am used to it." "That is not good," Tammy said. She frowned, her furry brows coming together. "You should come to the sleep hall tonight. It is warm there. We can keep you warm." Suho's face changed. He looked uncomfortable. "That is very kind of you, Tommy. But I prefer to sleep in my own room. I like being alone." Tammy did not understand. "But why? Being alone is sad. Being alone is cold. Why do you want that?" Suho was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking about how to answer. Finally, he said, "Humans are different from Valari. We like our privacy. We like our own space. It is not sad for us. It is normal." Tammy shook her head. "But you are cold. I can see it. Your skin has small bumps on it. That means you are cold. My datapad told me." Suho looked down at his arms. She was right. There were small bumps on his skin. "Goosebumps," humans called them. "You are very observant," Suho said. "But really, I am fine. I have blankets." "Blankets are not the same as fur," Tommy said stubbornly. "Blankets are not the same as friends." Suho did not have an answer for that. He just smiled his sad little smile and went back to eating his food. After dinner, Tommy watched Suho walk away toward the human quarters. His shoulders were hunched, and his arms were wrapped around himself. He looked so small and lonely. Tammy made a decision then. She would not let Suho be cold and alone. She would help him, whether he wanted help or not. That was what friends did. She went to the sleep hall with her mother and the others. She lay down on the soft cushions and felt the warmth of her family around her. But she could not sleep. She kept thinking about Suho in his cold little room. Was he shivering right now? Was he curled up in a ball, trying to stay warm? Was he sad? Tammy stared at the ceiling. The blue lights had dimmed for sleeping time. All around her, she could hear the soft breathing of her people. They were warm and happy and safe. But Suho was not. Tommy closed her eyes and tried to sleep. But her mind would not rest. It kept showing her pictures of the small human, alone in the dark, cold and trembling. She had to do something. Tomorrow, she told herself. Tomorrow, she would find a way to help him. She would make him understand that he did not have to be alone. She would show him what it meant to be part of a family. With that thought in her mind, Tammy finally fell asleep. But even in her dreams, she saw Suho. And in her dreams, he was always cold. The next day was busy on the base. The heating system was still broken, and everyone was working hard to fix it. Engineers ran through the corridors with tools in their hands. Technicians checked pipes and wires. Commander Hana gave orders and watched over everything with worried eyes. Tommy stayed close to her mother as she worked. She handed Yuna tools when she needed them and held parts in place with her small hands. She was trying to be helpful, but her mind kept wandering to Suho. She had seen him that morning in the meal hall. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his face was very pale. He had wrapped himself in a thick jacket, but she could still see him shivering. He had not slept well. Tammy was sure of it. "Mother," Tommy said while they worked, "how cold did it get last night?" Yuna checked her datapad. "Very cold, little one." The temperature dropped to -10 degrees in some parts of the station. The human quarters were especially affected. RWNA. The Storing 2014. RWNA Padically R. Tammy's heart squeezed tight in her chest. -10 degrees. That was very cold. Too cold for a creature with no fur. "Is Suho okay?" she asked. Yuna looked at her daughter. She could see the worry in Tommy's eyes. "I am sure he is fine," she said gently. "Humans are stronger than they look. They can survive many things." But Tommy was not convinced. She had seen Suho that morning. He did not look strong. He looked weak and tired and cold. He looked like he needed help. As the day went on, Tammy could not stop thinking about it. She did her chores. She helped her mother. She ate her meals. But always, in the back of her mind, there was Suho. By evening, the engineers had made some progress on the heating system. They had fixed part of it, but not all of it. The temperature would still be cold tonight. Not as cold as last night, but still very cold, especially for a human. Tommy saw Suho in the corridor after dinner. He was walking slowly toward his room, his thin body wrapped in that same thick jacket. His face was tired, and his steps were heavy. "Suho," Tammy called out. She ran up to him, her small feet padding softly on the metal floor. Suho stopped and turned to look at her. He managed a weak smile. "Hello, Tommy. How are you?" "I am fine," Tommy said. "But you do not look fine. You look tired." Suho let out a small laugh. "I did not sleep well last night. It was a little cold." "A little cold?" Tammy's eyes went wide. "Mother said it was -10 degrees. That is not a little cold. That is very, very cold." Suho shrugged. "It was not comfortable, but I survived. I will be okay." Tommy stepped closer to him. She looked up at his face with serious eyes. "Please come to the sleep hall tonight," she said. "Please, Suho. It is still going to be cold. You need to be warm. You need to be with others." Suho's face became uncomfortable again, just like it did every time someone asked him to join them. "Tammy, I appreciate your concern, but I really do prefer to sleep alone. It is how I am used to sleeping. It is what feels normal to me. But it is not safe," Tammy said. Her voice was getting higher. She was starting to feel frustrated. Why would he not listen? Why would he not let them help him? Humans can die from cold. I read it on my data pad. Your bodies cannot make enough heat. You need outside warmth. You need us. Suho knelt down so that he was at Tommy's level. His eyes were kind but firm. Tommy, listen to me. I know you are worried. And that is very sweet of you. But I have been taking care of myself for a long time. I know my limits. I will put on extra clothes tonight. I will use all my blankets. I will be fine. Tommy felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not want to cry. Cubs were not supposed to cry over small things. But this did not feel small to her. This felt very big. This felt like life and death. Please, she whispered. Please, Suho. I do not want you to freeze. Suho reached out and placed his small hand on her arm. His hand was cold, even through her fur. I will not freeze, he said softly. I promise. Now go to the sleep hall with your mother. Get some rest. Do not worry about me. He stood up and continued walking toward his room. Tammy watched him go. Her heart was heavy in her chest. She wanted to run after him. She wanted to grab his hand and drag him to the sleep hall, but she knew that would not be right. She could not force him. He had to choose for himself. But what if he chose wrong? What if he was too stubborn to ask for help? What if something happened to him? Tammy walked to the sleep hall with slow steps. Her mother was already there, settling down on the cushions with the others. Yuna looked up when she saw her daughter. There you are, little one. Come. Lie down beside me. Tommy lay down next to her mother. The warmth of the other Valari surrounded her like a soft blanket. It felt good. It felt safe. But she could not enjoy it. Not while Suho was alone in the cold. Mother, Tammy whispered, I am worried about Suho. Yuna wrapped one of her arms around her daughter. I know you are. But Suho is an adult. He can make his own choices. We have to respect that. But what if his choice is wrong? Tammy asked. What if he gets hurt? Yuna was quiet for a moment. Sometimes, little one, people have to learn things for themselves. We cannot force them to accept help. We can only offer it and hope they say yes. Tommy closed her eyes. But she could not sleep. The sleep hall was warm and comfortable. But her mind was far away. It was in the human quarters, in that small, cold room. With Suho, hours passed. The lights dimmed further. The other Valari fell asleep one by one. Their breathing became slow and steady. But Tommy stayed awake. She listened to the sounds of the base, the hum of machines, the whisper of air through vents, the soft snores of her people. And somewhere, far away, the sound of nothing. The silence of Suho's room. Was he okay? Was he sleeping? Was he warm enough? Tammy could not take it anymore. She had to know. She had to check on him. Slowly, carefully, she moved out from under her mother's arm. Yuna stirred, but did not wake. Tommy crept across the sleep hall, stepping over sleeping bodies, making her way to the door. The corridor outside was dark and cold. The temperature had dropped again. Tammy could feel it even through her thick fur. If it was this cold for her, how cold was it for Suho? She ran. Her small feet carried her quickly through the corridors. She passed by empty rooms and quiet hallways. She did not stop until she reached the human quarters. The door to Suho's room was closed. Tommy pressed her ear against it and listened. At first, she heard nothing. Then, very faintly, she heard a sound. It was a strange sound. A chattering, clicking sound. Like teeth hitting against each other. Tammy's blood went cold. She knew that sound. Her datapad had taught her. That was the sound humans made when they were very, very cold. When their bodies were trying desperately to make heat. When they were in danger. Suho, she called through the door. Suho, are you okay? No answer. Just the chattering sound. Quieter now. Tommy felt panic rise in her chest. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. She had to get inside. She had to help him, but how? The door was locked. She did not have the code. Tammy looked at the door. It was made of metal, but it was not very thick. The human quarters were not built as strong as the rest of the base. They were made for comfort, not for security. She could break it. She was small, but she was a Valari. Even cubs were stronger than humans. Even cubs could break a thin metal door. Tommy took a deep breath. She stepped back. She looked at the door with determined eyes. "Hold on, Suho," she whispered. "I am coming." Tammy lowered her shoulder. She had seen adults do this before, when doors got stuck or when there was an emergency. She had never done it herself. But there was no time to think about that now. Suho needed her. She ran at the door with all her strength. Her small body hit the metal with a loud crash. The door shook, but did not break. Pain shot through her shoulder, but she ignored it. She stepped back and tried again. This time, she used all 4 of her arms to push. She slammed into the door with her whole body. The metal groaned and bent. One more time. Tommy gathered all her courage and all her strength. She thought about Suho, alone and cold on the other side. She thought about his kind smile and his sad eyes. She thought about how he always looked so lonely. She would not let him be lonely anymore. With a fierce cry, Tommy threw herself at the door. The metal gave way with a terrible sound. The door fell inward, crashing to the floor. Tammy stumbled into the room, breathing hard. The room was dark. The only light came from the stars outside the window. The air was so cold that Tammy could see her breath, even with her thick fur. It was like walking into a freezer. "Suho?" she called out. Her voice echoed in the small space. She heard a small sound from the bed. A weak, trembling sound. Tammy ran toward it. Suho was lying on the bed, curled into a tight ball. His blanket was wrapped around him, but it was not enough. His whole body was shaking. His skin had turned a strange color, pale with hints of blue around his lips and fingertips. His eyes were half closed, and his breathing was shallow. "Suho!" Tommy cried. She grabbed his arm with her hands. His skin was ice cold, colder than anything she had ever felt. It was like touching frozen metal. Suho's eyes opened a little. They were unfocused and confused. "Tammy?" His voice was barely a whisper. His teeth chattered so hard that he could barely speak. "What are you doing here?" "I came to help you," Tammy said. Tears were running down her furry cheeks. "I knew you were cold. I knew you needed help. Why did you not call for someone? Why did you stay here alone?" Suho tried to smile, but his lips were too numb to move properly. I thought I would be. Okay. You are not okay," Tommy shouted. She was angry now. Angry at him for being so stubborn. Angry at herself for not coming sooner. "Look at you. You are freezing. You could die." She climbed onto the bed without thinking. Her body was warm, so warm compared to his. She pressed herself against him, wrapping all 4 of her arms around his thin frame. She could feel his body shaking against hers. She could feel how cold he was. "It is cold," she said firmly, repeating the words she had planned to say. "You need my heat." Suho tried to protest. "Tommy, you do not have to." "Be quiet," Tammy said. "Just be quiet, and let me warm you up." She held him tighter. She pressed her warm fur against his cold skin. She could feel the heat leaving her body and going into his. It was a strange feeling, but not a bad one. It felt right. It felt like what she was supposed to do. Slowly, very slowly, Suho's shaking began to calm down. His body was still cold, but not as cold as before. The warmth from Tommy's fur was seeping into him, bringing life back to his frozen limbs. "Thank you," Suho whispered. His voice was still weak, but a little stronger than before. "Thank you, Tammy." Tammy did not say anything. She just held him tighter. They stayed like that for a long time. Tammy did not know how long. She did not care. All that mattered was that Suho was getting warmer. All that mattered was that he was going to be okay. Then she heard footsteps in the corridor. Heavy footsteps. Many of them. The sound of Valari running. A moment later, her mother appeared in the broken doorway. Yuna's eyes went wide when she saw the scene. Her daughter on the bed, wrapped around the small human. Both of them tangled together in a pile of blankets and fur. "Tammy," Yuna cried. "What happened? We heard a crash. Are you hurt?" "I am fine, mother," Tommy said. "But Suho is not. He was freezing. I had to help him." More Valari appeared behind Yuna. Commander Hana pushed her way to the front. Her golden eyes took in the situation quickly. She moved to the bed and placed one of her large hands on Suho's forehead. "He is too cold," she said, her voice worried. "His body temperature is dangerously low. We need to warm him up more." She looked at the other Valari behind her. "Duri, Minho, come here. We need more body heat." Without hesitation, 2 large male Valari moved into the room. They climbed onto the bed, one on each side of Suho. Their massive bodies pressed against him. Surrounding him with warmth, more Valari followed. They piled onto the bed, and around the bed, and even on the floor near the bed. Everyone wanted to help. Everyone wanted to give their heat to the small, cold human. Suho's eyes went wide. He was surrounded by warm fur on all sides. He could barely move. He could barely breathe. But he was warm. For the first time in days, he was truly warm. "What is happening?" he stammered. Commander Hana looked down at him with gentle eyes. "You are being warmed, Suho. The proper way. The Valari way." Suho looked around at all the Valari pressed against him. He saw their worried faces and their kind eyes. He saw how they had all come running when they heard the crash. He saw how they were all willing to give their heat to save him. These were not just aliens he worked with. These were not just colleagues or neighbors. These were people who cared about him. People who wanted to protect him. People who would break down doors and pile into tiny rooms just to make sure he was okay. Tears formed in Suho's eyes. But not from sadness, from something else. Something he had not felt in a long time. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you all." Tammy tightened her arms around him. She was still pressed against his chest, her small body warm against his. "You are welcome," she said. "But next time, do not be so stubborn. Next time, come to the sleep hall with us. We will always keep you warm." Suho let out a small laugh. It was the first real laugh he had made in a long time. "Okay," he said. "I promise. Next time, I will come to the sleep hall." Commander Hana smiled. "Good. Because you are part of this family now, Suho. And family does not let family freeze alone." The Valari around him made sounds of agreement. They pressed closer, sharing their heat, sharing their love. And Suho, surrounded by warmth and care, finally closed his eyes and let himself rest. For the first time since he arrived on the base, he felt safe. For the first time, he felt like he belonged. For the first time, he understood what the Valari had been trying to tell him all along. No one should be alone in the cold. No one should face the darkness by themselves. There was always someone willing to share their heat, to share their light, to share their life. All you had to do was let them in. Tommy watched Suho's face relax as he fell asleep. She smiled, her little heart full of happiness. She had saved him. She had broken down the door and saved him, and she would do it again, 100 times over, if she had to. Because that was what family did. Morning came slowly to orbital base Kiran. The blue lights in the corridors grew brighter, signaling the start of a new day. The machines hummed with fresh energy. The air recyclers pushed warm air through the vents. The heating system had finally been fixed during the night. But Suho did not notice any of this. He was still asleep, buried under a mountain of warm fur. When he finally opened his eyes, he could not see anything at first. Everything was white and soft and warm. He tried to move, but he could not. Something was holding him down. Many somethings. Slowly, the fog in his mind cleared. He remembered what had happened: the cold, the darkness, the sound of the door breaking, Tammy's voice calling his name. And then warmth. So much warmth. He was in the sleep hall. The Valari must have carried him here during the night, and now he was lying in the middle of a pile of sleeping aliens, their furry bodies pressed against him from every direction. Suho tried to count how many Valari were around him. He gave up after 10. There were too many. It seemed like the entire base had come to sleep near him. To keep him warm. To keep him safe. His heart swelled with emotion. He had never experienced anything like this. On Earth, people valued privacy. They valued independence. They valued being strong enough to handle things alone. Asking for help was seen as weakness. Needing others was seen as a flaw. But here, among the Valari, things were different. Here, needing others was normal. Here, asking for help was not weakness but wisdom. Here, no one judged you for being cold or afraid or lonely. They just held you closer and gave you their warmth. Suho felt something wet on his cheeks. He was crying. Again. He seemed to be doing a lot of that lately. A small hand touched his face. He looked down and saw Tammy looking up at him. She had been sleeping right next to him, her small body curled against his chest. Her big round eyes were full of concern. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Why are you crying?" Suho smiled through his tears. "I am okay," he said. "I am crying because I am happy." Tammy looked confused. "You cry when you are happy? That is strange." Suho laughed softly. "Yes, I suppose it is. Humans are strange creatures." "Yes," Tommy agreed. "Very strange. But also very nice." She snuggled closer to him, pressing her warm fur against his chest. "I like you, Suho. You are my friend. And you are mine," Suho said. He wrapped his arms around her small body. "Thank you, Tommy, for saving me, for not giving up on me." Tommy made a happy sound deep in her throat. It was a purring sound, like a very large cat. "You are welcome. But please do not make me break any more doors. It hurt my shoulder." Suho laughed again. It felt good to laugh. It felt good to be warm. It felt good to be surrounded by people who cared about him. Around them, the other Valari were starting to wake up. They stretched their long limbs and yawned their wide yawns. When they saw that Suho was awake, they all crowded around him, asking how he felt, touching his forehead to check his temperature, making sure he was okay. Commander Hana made her way through the crowd. She knelt down beside Suho and looked at him with her golden eyes. "How do you feel this morning?" she asked. Suho thought about the question. How did he feel? He felt warm. He felt rested. He felt cared for. He felt like he belonged. "I feel good," he said. "Better than I have felt in a long time." Commander Hana nodded, pleased. "Good. You gave us quite a scare last night. If Tommy had not found you when she did." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. They all knew what could have happened. Suho looked at the little cub still pressed against his chest. She had saved his life. This small, stubborn, brave little cub had broken down a door and saved his life. "I was foolish," Suho admitted. "I thought I could handle the cold alone. I thought asking for help was, I do not know, weak, wrong, not what humans do." "And now?" Commander Hana asked. Suho smiled. "Now I understand that I was wrong. Needing others is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is survival. It is," he searched for the right word, "it is love." The Valari around him made sounds of approval. They reached out and touched him, patting his head and his shoulders and his arms. It should have felt strange. It should have felt uncomfortable, but it did not. It felt right. "You will sleep in the sleep hall from now on," Commander Hana said. It was not a question. It was a statement. Yes, Suho agreed. I will sleep in the sleep hall, with my family. The word surprised him as much as it surprised the others. Family. He had called them family. But as soon as he said it, he knew it was true. These Valari were his family now, not by blood, but by choice. Not by birth, but by love. Yuna stepped forward. She reached down and helped Suho sit up. Come, she said. It is time for breakfast. You need to eat. You need to get your strength back. Suho let her help him to his feet. His legs were a little shaky, but he could stand. He could walk. He was alive. As they made their way to the meal hall, Suho held Tommy's hand. Her small, furry hand fit perfectly in his. She looked up at him and smiled. And he smiled back. The meal hall was busy when they arrived. The smell of food filled the air. Valari sat at tables, eating and talking and laughing. When they saw Suho, they all stood up and clapped their hands together. It was a sign of welcome, Suho knew. A sign of acceptance. He felt his face grow warm. Not from cold this time, but from embarrassment, and happiness, and love. They ate together, all of them, at one long table. The food was warm and good. The company was even better. Suho talked and laughed with his Valari friends. He told them stories about Earth. They told him stories about their home planet. Tommy sat beside him the whole time, never letting go of his hand. After breakfast, Suho went back to work, but things were different now. The Valari greeted him warmly wherever he went. They stopped to talk to him. They offered him warm drinks. They wrapped blankets around his shoulders when they thought he looked cold. He was no longer the strange human who lived alone. He was Suho. Part of the family. Part of the crew. Part of them. That night, Suho went to the sleep hall without anyone asking him to. He found a spot near the center of the room. Surrounded by soft cushions and warm blankets, Tammy immediately ran over and claimed the spot beside him. This is my spot, she announced to anyone who might try to take it. I am Suho's official warmer. No one else can sleep here. The other Valari laughed, but they did not argue. They knew better than to argue with Tommy. As the lights dimmed and the base settled down for the night, Suho lay back and looked at the ceiling. He could feel Tommy's warm body pressed against his side. He could hear the soft breathing of the Valari around him. He could feel their heat, their love, their acceptance. He thought about his old life on Earth. He thought about all the nights he had spent alone in his apartment, telling himself that he did not need anyone. He thought about all the times he had refused help, refused warmth, refused connection. How wrong he had been, how lonely he had been, how cold. But he was not cold anymore. He was warm. He was loved. He was home. Suho closed his eyes and smiled. Outside the window, the stars still looked cold. But inside, surrounded by his new family, Suho had never felt warmer. And as he drifted off to sleep, held close by furry arms and caring hearts, he knew that he would never be alone again. Because that was what family was for.